am learning a lot in my sobriety. I am. Like, I heard about mornings. Have you guys heard of mornings? It's wild, dude. I woke up 3 weeks sober and I was like, hold on a minute. You mean I have time to get McDonald's breakfast and go to the bank? Get the fuck out of here. Is this how the 1% lives? Okay. All right. I see you.
Today on the Tom Kelly Show, radio host and internet sensation, Mary Santora. Let's start the show. But then what I make people do...
The Tom Kelly Show. Everybody,
I make people listen to the theme song.
Tom Kelly Show.
And this is it, see?
I want you all to know about the Tom Kelly Show.
Here we go. Trigger warning, spoiler alert. Folks, we're moving to New York City. You are experiencing the Tom Kelly Show. And if this podcast for the last 3 years has been an experiment in I don't know what I want to do, and I don't know what you people want from me. Today on last week, or in the last week or so, we've had comedian Lenny Marcus on the show. And long story short, you guys are divided on the guests. There are really two powerful camps and a third indifferent camp. Some of you love the guests, some of you hate them, and then a bunch of you are like, oh, I really don't pay attention anyway, Tom. Whatever it is, wherever you are, Fred the Mailman. He is a big fan of several audio shows that I have friends who host, and Fred always tweets. Fred always shares what we're talking about in his Instagram stories, and Fred will get whatever the hell he wants on this show. People, okay? And Fred's a mailman, okay? He's just walking around stuffing boxes, okay? He has time to consume audio content. And I am proud to be one of the things he's consuming while he's out there stuffing boxes. And when I had Lenny Marcus on the show, for some reason, he just tags a third comedian I've never heard of in his Instagram story. And I looked and I'm like, holy crap, she works in radio. She must know what she's talking about. And she's funny. So, ladies and gentlemen, today on the Tom Kelly Show, we have a radio personality who's an alcoholic and compulsive gambler who's moving to New York City. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Mary Santora.
Oh my God. You know what? I've been doing stand-up 12 years, and I think that might be the most accurate and fair description of me. It's so concise. Well, that's perfect. I love that.
I'll be honest with you. I mean, now the meaner joke I was going to make was she's an alcoholic and compulsive gambler who's moving to New York City in 2024. Isn't that a recipe for relapse and disaster?
I love that. That's what you should have gone with.
I don't know. I want to be your friend, Mary. I want to be your friend.
We're friends.
We are friends. So
right now.
But let's go slow for a minute. You're doing stand-up for 12 years.
Mm-hmm.
You have a job hosting a radio show in a non-New York City.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like you're doing the dream backwards.
You would think, it is, it's tough. Like you said that, this podcast is kind of like, what do I want? What am I doing? I have no idea where I'm at. And so I am a full-time comic. I work anywhere between, 25 and 35 weeks on the road. I do clubs. I'm working the Midwest. My day job is an afternoon talk radio show that I'm a co-host of, the Alan Cox Show on 100.7 WMS in Cleveland. So I've been a full-time creative in two jobs that I love for almost 5 years. And so the move to New York City does seem backwards to some people, but it's also, we're in a different time with stand-up where it's like, if you're not selling tickets, you're not getting booked. So those same clubs that I've been working for years and years and years are now looking at people like me, where I can come and I can deliver and I can do a great job and everyone's going to have a fantastic weekend, but there might only be 20 or 30 people a show. So they're looking at people like me like, okay, do we keep booking people like this, or do we fill it with TikTok people who have 10 million followers that are going to get us 400 seats a show? So that's a huge shift that I've seen in like the last 2 years. So my whole idea with going to New York is I need some eyes on me, man. I'm like, I gotta figure it out. And I gotta I gotta find a way to level up, right? I've done what I can do in the Midwest. I love what I do in the Midwest, but there's just not the same opportunities to get me on TV or bigger podcasts or just connecting with agencies and managers and things like that. There is no representation for that in Cleveland, Ohio. So while yes, I do have an incredible job and I love what I do think there's, 10 more levels I can get to that's just not going to happen here.
Yes, and here I am welcoming you to the land of broken hearts and disappointment. No, I feel no, but I don't actually mean that. I don't mean that at all. Are you giving up the radio job?
I am not. So the great thing about working for is this sponsored by any certain company?
No, but I do. I get a paycheck and health insurance from iHeart, but they don't.
Okay.
This.
I work for iHeart. So that's what I was going to say. So working for iHeart, they just redid all their studios in the last couple of years.
Oh,
so
are you going to work out of 55th Street?
Yep. I'm going to be broadcasting from Manhattan every day.
I have my work ID right over there. And you're actually going to go in and broadcast.
I'm going in, I'm broadcasting. And so as far as audio goes, it'll sound like I'm still in the room in Cleveland. So everything is just
half the shows there are 40% virtual nowadays anyway, which is sort of weird. You'll go into one of the little small booths they have there. Have you checked it out yet?
I haven't been yet. I come on the 2nd of January, but it was described to me as just like a little production studio. I don't need much,
No, and you're going to meet some. If I think I know a few people you're going to be working around, and you're going to like it. But hang on, are you married?
No.
Significant other?
Yes.
Okay, is he coming?
No.
Is he in Cleveland?
Yes.
Great. Okay, hang on. How does he feel?
It is tough. So we hit a pretty significant rough patch about a month ago, and some things transpired, and I am going to be vague, and I know that's the worst thing in the world for podcasting, but it's all very fresh and very new. So we hit a point which had led to a separation, and I'm currently, as you can see, broadcasting from my sister's bedroom. We have
hang on, but you're with the guy.
I am with him, but we split. And we have been in like the last week working on things and trying to get back to kind of where we were. And we decided that we are going to stay together and try long distance.
Okay. Which, by the way, I like long distance relationships better than close distance ones.
Okay.
But
you're the first person who said that. Almost everybody's like, recipe for disaster. There's no way. Can't wait for you to come crawling home in 2 months.
Well, listen, we'll get into this in a minute. I feel like I'm the one thing I'm doing wrong is not doing your jokey jokes about alcoholism and stuff first. No,
whatever you want.
No.
Your show.
But since we stumbled into it, I'll just have to do a cold open with one of your clips. Okay. But if we are stumbling into you, I don't know, man. There's something to be said about chasing a damn dream and having someone who supports that.
Yeah, the big factor is that he has a 7-year-old daughter. So if it were a different situation, I do think that he would probably at least consider coming, but that's not an option, And when we first started dating, we both knew, and I was very clear about the fact that New York has always been a goal of mine. I've always wanted to be surrounded by the best comedians in the country / world. And that just the old phrase, iron sharpens iron. Like I hate to sound egotistical, but as far as the Midwest goes, I'm one of the top comics, and I'm doing what I can do here. But the idea of going up in these clubs and having to follow people with like just unreal skill sets. It's trial by fire. You're either going to become incredibly good or let it break you. And I'm really ready for that.
I think you're going to do great with that end of it. The hard part is too many comedians, not enough stage time right now.
Right.
Or just as a lot of guys like me who just should have quit 15 years ago and refuse.
Get out of the way then.
You're not the only, you make jokes, but there are people who have said that.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Oh no, that's a thing.
Did I just trigger something in you? I apologize.
No, I mean, I did open with she's a compulsive gambler and alcoholic who's
Both
moving to New York
facts.
City. We let's agree we both started strong here. Yeah, no, and that's a very real thing though. But you're the new flavor. The interesting thing with you that other people have said about New York is you got good somewhere else and then you came here.
Mm-hmm.
The hard part now will be because I'm basically restarting my career after 5 years of working after 20 years of working in TV shows and 3 years of working in morning TV and another 3 years of the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
I would say a lot of my generation has either graduated way above me or moved on.
Right.
So like now I'm kissing asses of bookers who are like, yeah, we've seen you before. What do you got? Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
That's why, I mean, I'm working on a very different strategy, which I think you've already done, which is be a hyper local sensation in a few places and see if I could take that to something with social media and whatnot.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's exactly what it is that when I say I've maxed out or I've done what I can do here in the Midwest, I've done everything I can do except sell tickets. Like
well,
that's really what it comes down to. And all I've ever wanted to do is be a stand-up comic. Like I just want to work clubs and have a great time Thursday to Saturday and come home and live a regular ass life Sunday to Wednesday and like just be a person, but
except that I know what iHeart pays.
correct.
On the surface, it looks like you're doing the dream backwards. You got the radio show and then you're doing stand up. No, you do stand up to get the radio show. But also giving you some credit, you have more Instagram followers than the show you host.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that is definitely got a huge boost from being on air in Cleveland. Like my first year that I was on air, I probably got at least 10 or 15,000 followers. But again, I'm a full-time comic. So, in the last, I think I got COVID in December of 2021 or 2020, one of the two. I think it was 2021 when I finally was like, fine, if I have to stay home for 10 days, I'll make a can we swear?
Yeah, why not?
Okay, I just want to make sure. Like this.
I mean, it's one of those. I think the average listening age of the audience is a 65-year-old mom, but
okay, then I won't. It's fine. I work in terrestrial. It's fine. I don't have to. But it's like I broke down. I was like, fine, I'll take social media seriously, not just cute pictures and selfies. I started posting reels very regularly. Yeah, it was 2021. So over the course of 2022, I saw tremendous growth from that, where I went
stand up.
From doing stand up and posting clips. So it was actually funny. So I decided to do that after working a weekend at Salt Lake City. And there was a comic recording sets for the headliner I was working with. And he was hosting and he was like, hey, let me show you how to do this. He basically taught me in one weekend how to use editing software, how to break everything up, how to put captions on it. And his name's Trey Lamb. He's very funny. And
What are you editing with? Final Cut or Premiere?
Well, I have DaVinci Resolve because it was free.
Someone
So
just told me to go DaVinci. Really?
well, it's the only one I've ever used. So I'm used to it. I heard Adobe Premiere is the easiest. But it's also like $400 a year, which I guess is a tax write-off, but either way. So he taught me, it was like May, and he showed me how to use that software. And then between May and now, I mean, it's been like another 40,000 followers. So it's slow, but it's consistent.
All right. So here's where I know you're probably a really, really good radio host. Here, and I already know this from watching your stand-up. And this is where I'm a bad interviewer and really need 2 cups of coffee before I do this. I think I've missed a few things as an interviewer here. You were just so effing, and we don't need to go into the details of your relationship, but you just dropped a lot of bombs on a guy you never met's podcast, about, well, we don't know if it's falling apart or if we're getting together. I have trouble joking about the people in my life who I've known for 47 years, and I know they have to stick with me, even if I call them all a-holes.
Yeah.
You just put it all out there. And also with your gambling and your alcoholism, what I love about you is it's all out there. How do you do that? Or is there there's such a beautiful vulnerability behind your punchlines,
Well, for me, it's always, I lived a very underprivileged life, right? So I'm not going to go into my whole you can listen to my first album if you want to hear about my upbringing. Hillbilly Bougie, available everywhere. But to me, it was very apparent when I started to become more involved in stand up and taking it a little bit more seriously, where the things that I said that people connected to were always personal stories that were vulnerable. Those were the stories that people would come up to me after shows and be like, "Oh my God, I feel seen, or I've felt that, or I've lived that." And to be 100% honest, I've always been super nervous when it comes to joke writing, like late night style, because it, to me, always seems unoriginal, where it's like, okay, if you take a headline, 75 comics are going to make the exact same joke with a couple different words about that headline. But
Mhm.
it probably stems from some kind of insecurity in comedy. Nobody else can tell my story. Nobody else can take my addictions, or my, father passing away, or growing up in a hoarder house. Like, nobody can take those and tell those stories. So why wouldn't I share what I've been through, connect to other people who've been through it, and develop a voice through vulnerability,
I like that. Now you just started to tell a story about your boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know me. Outside of we get health insurance from the same place. You don't know me. And
I don't get health insurance.
what? Oh,
I
really?
said I don't get health insurance.
Giving commuting, but no health insurance?
Isn't that fun? Yeah.
How did they get away with that? Well, okay, put that. Wait, but you're
Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
God damn that company. All right, now back to us. You you didn't know, like you were talking about, well, my boyfriend and I are on the rocks, and you don't know who the hell I am. You haven't listened to my show. You didn't know if the next question was going to be, so how's the sex, or something stupid, but you put it out there. What about the risk of putting it out there, and also the risk that this guy you're trying to mend a relationship with is going to go, why are you going on this guy's podcast saying that we're on the rocks? Why can't you keep that quiet? What do you got to tell everybody on the Alan Cox show that we're not getting along? Am I saying it?
No, I get what you're saying, but I guess to me, everyone in my life knows what I do, and everyone in my life knows the type of stand-up that I do. And it is unapologetic in a sense of, listen, if you're gonna be in my life, it's free game. Like, kind of, where it's just like, if you're a part of my life, and even when he and I started dating, that's a conversation that we had, where I was like, hey, listen, I'm very transparent, and I talk about things that happen in my life. And the only request he ever made was, say whatever you want about me, keep my daughter out of it. He's like, I don't want any kind of, controversy or joke. Like, he's like, little jokes that are harmless, sure. Oh, kids are tough, whatever. He's like, but if you're going to get into deep, personal, heavy stuff, I don't want any of that to be revolved around her. And I can absolutely respect that. And if someone in my life came to me and was like, hey, it really hurts me when you talk like this, or when you told that story, or whatever that might be, then I wouldn't do it.
So he knew what he was getting into, so you could talk about the relationship.
Yes.
He also drew the boundary of no talk about the damn kid, and you respect that.
Yes.
I like that. So it's like, oh, kids are tough, but it's not, oh my God, that kid has ADD or whatever.
Or whatever. Yeah. It's never taking a bash at her.
Got it.
It would be like, here's my struggle trying to be a stepmom. Here's how I think and feel, and how it affects my life. Whereas she's really just the setup.
Okay.
She's never the punchline.
Let's get into some of the real things you talk about, and we'll become better friends in January here.
Sounds good.
Alcoholism and compulsive gambling and growing up in a hoarder house.
Yes.
How have they been good for your career? And have they been good for your career? I mean, were you an alcoholic when did you get clean, and when did you quit gambling?
Okay. So I am sober from alcohol. It'll be 5 years in March. So 2019, March 3rd, 2019, I got sober from alcohol. I am like 62 days clean from gambling. So that is very, very new. I was a blackout drunk for a decade. I mean, I was very, very much the person who was hiding and numbing trauma through booze, because it's like, oh, I love not feeling like, oh, let's just go out and party, and we're going to have fun. We're going to do shots, and then we don't have to deal with anything. So I actually tried to quit drinking 4 times before it actually stuck. So, there's so many tropes and sayings around addiction that are frustratingly true, right? When it's like, oh, you have to hit your bottom and you're not going to quit until you're ready. And every time you think it's your bottom, it probably isn't. And that rang true for me 4 different times before it actually stuck.
So did bottom on both of those things?
I hit the bottom hard on drinking, yes. As far as gambling went, it kind of came to a point. You know what's really funny is that I'm like, the more I'm about to share with you, I feel like I'm almost scaring you, or that you don't have a lot of genuine might not be the right word. You don't have a lot of intimate connections with people, whereas I guess you could say an oversharer. I'm someone who trusts people immediately, and I'm like, here's all my information, and if you don't like it, then we never have to talk again. But if you want a trauma bond, let's go ahead and do that. You know.
Being weird or being completely honest with you, I think I have some intimate relationships with people, but I also have hurt people by going too far too fast. So therefore, I am more guarded when I first meet people.
Sure, I get that. Yeah. But as far as the compulsive gambling goes,
so like, since you're afraid of me, tell me about the rock bottom on drinking. Were you in a gutter? Were you dead?
No, I was not in a gutter. I was not dead. Like I said, I had tried to quit 4 times before. And then this particular time that it's hard to say because it wasn't like a final, well, there was, but it was about 6 months leading up that just got increasingly worse and worse and worse. And my life got increasingly harder and more out of control and unmanageable. And the final straw, after 6 months, that eventually grew to 4 to 5 blackouts a week, and drinking. My safe nights toward the end were me drinking 2 bottles of wine at home, because I was like, oh well, I'm not driving, I'm not going anywhere, I'm not doing anything, this is like totally chill. I'd post the Instagram picture of like a glass of wine in a bath, but nobody knew that was my 9th glass of wine.
Perry.
What?
No, never mind. That's he posted a picture of him in a hot tub, and then.
Oh, I thought you said scary. I was like, why is it scary? Yeah, Luke Perry. Luke.
Matthew.
I was like, Luke Perry. Where did that even come from? But the final time I drank, it was I had gone out the night before. I woke up in that like weird hungover, still kind of drunk phase, and I was scheduled to do a daytime bar crawl during Mardi Gras. That's what it was. It was a Mardi Gras themed 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. bar crawl. And I was seeing a guy at the time, and I asked him to go on this with me. It would have been like our 3rd or 4th date would have been this bar crawl. And he said he couldn't because he had to go back to his hometown because a friend or family member, somebody close to him, had passed away. So he had to go back home for the weekend to go to the funeral. I said, fine, no problem. Take care of yourself. Took my gay best friend. He and I started the morning with shots of Jim Beam. So when you're in that hungover drunk phase and then you do a shot, right back to hammered. So me and my friend, we're having a great time. We're doing the bar hop. And then we get to, I don't know, probably the 3rd or 4th bar. And the guy that I was dating was at that bar, at the bar crawl with another girl. And I was just drunk enough to cause problems, where I walked up and I was like, I'm sorry, I thought somebody died. Look, what the hell are you doing here? And he was like trying to explain it away, and I ended up blah, blah, blah. And I was like, no, dude, screw you. We're not doing this. So then, there's a saying in 12 step where they're like, you drink the poison to kill another. So that's how my night progressed, where I was like, now I'm going to get drunk at you. Like, now you're going to see what you did, Oh, you think I'm a problem? You don't even know,
I like is get drunk at you.
Yes, I got drunk at him the rest of the day. I ended up puking at the bar. I had to go home, but blacked out. Couldn't find anything. My phone died. I woke up. I had 100 missed calls. Nobody had heard from me in like a day and a half. And it, like, my family, obviously, from the night before to the bar crawl to me blacking out, it had been hours since anybody heard from me. But everyone knew I was out day drinking. So they're like, did she die? Is she arrested? Like, what happened? And when I woke up, they say you have in sobriety a moment of clarity, where like after everything wore off, I kind of looked around my apartment and it was trashed. It was just a disaster, just unkept. Dishes piled up in the sink. Cat didn't have any food. Who knows the last time I cleaned her litter box? Like, my clothes are everywhere. Like the place is just an absolute disaster. And then as I'm going through my phone looking for clues from the day before, like what did I get into? I saw a picture of a damaged car and someone's license and insurance information. And I was like, oh, I was in an accident. Like I had no idea that I was in an accident. And that was kind of the moment where I kind of sat there and I was like, I very well could have killed somebody. I could have killed myself. I could have hurt someone. And that was the day that I was like, I'm done. I have to be done because this is gone too far. This is too much. It's completely unmanageable. And I can't continue to live like this.
Okay. I love everything about you sharing that. Now, was your gambling, did you almost kill anybody with your gambling too? Or I feel like that story
I did not.
good. I feel
This story isn't as fun. The story of gambling is just that after my father passed away, so we are staunchly hillbilly, and the only thing my dad and I ever did to bond was gamble. So after he passed away, that kind of ramped up real hard. I would go to the casinos and try to spend time, like, quote, with him, gambling, and it just once again not became unmanageable in the sense that I was spending every dollar I made, but I was not saving any money, and every extra dollar that was not going toward bills was going to gambling. So it was like all my bills were paid. There was no threat of not being able to, have the lights cut off or anything like that. But there was not a single dollar after my bills that was going anywhere except the casino.
And you're not moving to New York to avoid your bookie, that kind of a thing.
No. I never did a bookie. It never got that bad. I self-excluded from the casinos before it could get that bad. So legally, I can't even gamble in Ohio.
Okay. Now, you talked about the moment of clarity.
Mm-hmm.
I love that word. I have friends who've been in the program or are still in the program. I feel like the moment of clarity also applies to other aspects of your life. Mm-hmm. Did you have the moment of clarity when you decided it was time to be a stand-up comic, or were you just doing that as a thing? And did you have the moment of clarity when you said, it's time for me to elevate the pursuit of my dream?
So in the start of it, no. It was something I always liked. I always enjoyed stand-up. I was like, whose line is it anyway? I actually thought I was going to go into improv. That's what I thought I was really going to do. And I kind of just started, I always loved it. And then in college, there was like a student stand-up competition that some activities board was, producing or whatever. And so one of my girlfriends was on like the team of people doing the auditions. And she's like, we have 10 spots. We filled 9. It's all men. Like, I know you like comedy. Would you even be interested in doing this? And she's like, we've had almost no women even apply for it. And so I was like, yeah, I'll do it. Absolutely. We'll give it a try. And I spent like the next month or two writing jokes and everything. So there wasn't really any kind of like, this is my passion or anything like that until I got on stage. And it's funny because a lot of people, their first time on stage is in front of, 8 drunks at a open mic in a bar. Mine was in the auditorium of the University of Toledo in front of 400 students. So like when a joke hit, it hit for 400 people and you felt that like laugh. And I was like, whoo, like, I guess not really moment of clarity, but like chills. And I was like, oh, this is it. Like flat out, this is it. I did stand up for the first time February 23rd, and I withdrew from my classes April 1st because I was like, there's nothing else I want to do. I'm dropping out. I'm going to be a stand-up. I was 100% delusional. I was like, I'm going to be famous in 6 months, Comedy Central by the end of the year. Like I had no idea what it actually took to do this.
And what year is this?
Say again?
What year is this and what year of college were you in?
2012, and it was my senior year of college.
Wow. You have 3.5 years worth of credits somewhere finished up.
Yeah. Here's the thing you're going to need to know about me. When I make a decision, it's done and I'm doing it and I'm putting everything and anything I have into that thing, whether it is a career choice or a relationship or I'm going to Mexico next week and you can't stop me. Like I'm very like, here's my choice. It might be impulsive. It might be spontaneous, but when I make my mind up about something, that is it.
Now, remember about 4 minutes ago, you asked me, Tom, I feel like I am scaring you. And I said, no. Mm-hmm. Now you are.
Yeah.
Interesting way. Is stand-up an addiction? Is it a drug?
Yes.
And are we healthy for a woman now who is in 2 different programs?
No. I can say that. I can say that wholeheartedly, that this is and always has been the adrenaline rush. You get addicted to those endorphins. And as much as people say, oh, I love doing stand-up because I love making people happy, which I do. I love that 90 minutes of people just coming out and enjoying themselves and untapping from their own life crises. It's also very much so for the comics, mostly for the comics. That validation, that feeling of, look at me crushing this. Like, this is incredible. It makes us feel just as good as it makes the audience.
Now, only because you made fun of me for tiptoeing around you in the beginning.
Yeah.
Is giving up a great city and a great relationship and a great stepmom thing to pursue such a noble dream that I share with you at such a high level also a form of being a coholic? Are we comedy coholics, for lack of a better word? We will come up with a better word. Comedy addicts, whatever you want to call it. Are we addicts? Like, listen, how many Saturday nights have I given up? How many functional relationships have I given up because I've known the person I'm with won't support me giving up a Saturday night for $50?
Mm-hmm.
Am I an alcoholic or am I a comedy addict? And then are you, because you're actually giving up zip codes?
So my dad would always used to tell me whenever I'd be driving out of town for no money and whatever it is, and he was not a supporter of my stand-up career at all. But he would always tell me, he'd be like, Mary, you have a disease. You're an addict. You're a crackhead. Look at you. You're driving 8 hours one way for $100, no hotel, and driving home. He's like, you're trying to get your fix. And I fully agree with that. Now, when it comes to, because you think about it, addicts, whether it's drug or alcohol or sex or gambling, you start to wager things in your life when it gets to a point where you're like, if this is a little different because it's a career, right? Because if this pays off and everything works out how I have it planned in my head, which almost never happens, I'll give you that, then this leads to an immaculate life, the life I've always wanted, the life that I've dreamed of. And if it's going to take a couple years of hurt and pain to get that, for me, that's worth it. But if in those couple years it's not working out, or I run out of money, or I hit a point where I'm like, I can't do this anymore, then the zip code I left is still here.
Okay.
The man that I'm with is on the same page, and he's like, yeah, come home. We'll figure it out. So to me, it's not necessarily a fear of failure. It's a fear of not knowing if I could be successful.
Okay. And I'm going to argue in your case, your sacrifices aren't that dramatic. You still have the radio thing.
Sure.
Being real. And then honestly, a flight back to Cleveland is what, $200?
Mm-hmm.
And then you could use all that money you're saving on not having health insurance. No, you can. You could always go back to Cleveland, and you can always visit Cleveland, and Cleveland can always visit you.
Right.
Put that in a box. What does your dream life look like?
Go ahead.
No, you're giving up a certain amount of stability to chase a dream. What does that dream look like in 2 years?
Well, I don't know about a timeline on it.
Okay.
But my dream life, the absolute perfect life for me. I don't want to be famous. I don't want to be, all those things are great. When you look at people who have Kevin Hart or Amy Schumer that are selling out arenas everywhere they go, Bert Kreischer, I get that. That looks great. But for me, the dream, the ideal perfect dream is someone like Brian Regan or Kathleen Madigan, where you can go to any city in the country, sell out a 2,000-seat theater, walk across the street, have a drink at the bar, and there's a good chance no one knows who you are. So you're doing what you love for a living, you're making great money, and you don't have to deal with any of the crap of people being all over your ass all the time. You're famous to your fans, but in the big scheme of things, you have an incredible life that still has some anonymity to it.
That might be one of the healthiest things I've heard on this show in a while. I love how that lined up.
Yeah.
How that lined up. And I don't think I'm going to end on a better note than that, Mary. Mary, where can everybody find you?
Oh, you can follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Mary Santora Comedy. I'm also just have a website, marysantora.com. And then if you have the iHeartRadio app, the Ellen Cox Show podcast is daily, weekdays from 2 to 6:30 p.m. on 100.7 WMMS.
You got to promise me once you get settled in New York that you come and we do something in person here. Deal? Or
Absolutely.
there you go, folks. You know what to do. Quick magic mirror time. That's where I just shout out somebody on the show. Fred the mailman, you got your shout out at the beginning, but I see you. I also see Diana and Peter up in Canada. I know you guys are going through stuff right now, and just know that everybody here in our little community is thinking of you. And those of us who pray, that might be me. We've lit a candle for you. All right. And that's everything, folks. New shows every Monday and Wednesday. Share what you can share, comment where you can comment, show love where love can be shown. And until next time, good night, Cleveland.